Living together means splitting the bills. After years of distance, Karen suddenly insisted on moving in. Caught off guard by her abrupt demand, the usually calm Robert was furious and proposed they split the living expenses. But Karen retorted, "What? I am letting you spend time with adorable Emma, and you want to split? If that's how you feel, you'll never see Emma again." Little did anyone know the shocking truth behind Karen's bold statement. I'm Olivia, a 60-year-old housewife. Robert retired early but got rehired at 60. It's been 2 years, and he's still working. We have a daughter, Karen, but we have been estranged since she left home after high school. Even though we weren't close, she's still our precious child. We always wondered about her well-being, but no news meant good news, and we were content with our peaceful retirement. Then, out of the blue, she reached out to announce her marriage. It was a surprise, but knowing someone was there to look after the self-centered Karen was reassuring. However, 5 years passed, and we started drifting apart again. One day, Karen unexpectedly called. "You're 60 now, right, Mom? It must be tough, just the two of you." "Oh, we're not that old yet. But you're aging every day, right? So I decided to move in with you. What? We're moving next week. See you then." She hung up before I could respond. I tried calling back, but her phone was off. I then tried reaching out to her husband, Thas, but he didn't answer. Karen has always been stubborn and self-centered. She believed the world revolved around her. When things didn't go her way, she would throw tantrums. We even had neighbors called the police on her. Don't cause trouble to others. We tried disciplining her, but nothing worked. Before we knew it, she left home, and we lost touch until she announced her marriage. Since Thas wasn't a delinquent, he didn't know who to turn to for advice. And by the time he realized it, it was no longer possible to mend the distance between him and Karen had left the house. I didn't hear from her for several years until it was reported that she got married. We had no idea how she lived during those years. She got married, had a child, but as an adult, she was free to make choices. That seemed kind-hearted and more reasonable than Karen. We hoped marriage would change her, but it didn't. Even as a mother, Karen remained selfish. When Robert came home from work, I told him everything. He said, "Leave it to me." True to her word, Karen arrived the next week with Thas and Emma, bringing all their belongings. I could see that they had brought in their furniture and household items and were eager to stay. She declared, "I'm taking my old room for Emma," and started setting up. Emma seemed restless, and to make matters worse, Karen took over Robert's study. Furthermore, Karen takes over Robert's study without permission. "We'll use this room," she announced, instructing Thas to move Robert's things. Thas, ever the obedient husband, complied. If a family is harmonious, that's great, but this couple seemed more like a master-servant relationship than a loving pair. Then Robert stepped in. "You can use the room you were in before, but don't you dare touch my study. Get out now." He snatched the bags they were moving and kicked Karen and her husband out. "What's your problem? You're old and retired. You don't need a study." "How can you say that? Your father is still working. I have to keep working to make ends meet. I can't afford to feed you two for free. You'll pay half for the room, utilities, and food. If you're even a day late, you're out." "Excuse me? We are offering to take care of you in your old age, and you want us to pay? We should be charging you for our help. I'm not so frail that I need a foolish daughter like you to take care of me. If you're unhappy, leave. We'll get to live with adorable Emma. What's there to complain about? If you keep this up, you will never see Emma again." Emma was born 5 years ago, and we have hardly seen her since. Threatening to keep her away now doesn't mean much. So what? You think bringing up Emma will get you everything? That she's some precious bargaining chip? Robert's unexpected comeback left Karen speechless. It's not that we didn't have any affection for Emma. We wish Karen understood that. Since we hadn't been able to meet much before, using Emma as an example now was pointless. But Karen didn't get it. She seemed to shift her focus, accusing her own father of being a cold-hearted old man who couldn't love Emma. When asked about the real situation, Thas said the apartment they were moving to was going to be demolished due to its age. They were told to leave immediately, and it would be a big help if they could stay at Karen's parents' house. He admitted he felt pathetic, unable to afford moving expenses. Honestly, it's Karen's fault for being so self-centered and struggling financially. She probably had a spoiled life, so this outcome was expected. But young Emma had nothing to do with it. She's at an age where adults should protect her. With that thought, the idea of settling conditions without consideration seemed wrong. Interrupting the ongoing argument between Robert and Karen, I chimed in. I'll give you 1 month. Either move out and live as a family, or tree in a new place, or pay half the living expenses and live with Thas, as he suggests. Hey, you know how selfish Karen is, right? If we allow this, she'll definitely take advantage of us. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Trying to calm an outraged Robert, they decided on a 1-month trial of living together. Sure, as Robert said, if we showed leniency, Karen might cling like a leech and never let go. But showing a bit of understanding towards Karen might ease things. We decided to use this month to figure out Karen's intentions. Karen was a housewife and didn't work outside. Thomas left the house at a fixed time every morning and returned at a set time. It turned out that perhaps because Karen was a housewife, their 5-year-old grandchild had never been to a childcare center or preschool. When asked, Karen said, "It's a waste of money." Thomas doesn't earn much, but Thomas wasn't home on weekends. According to Karen, he was working a part-time night shift as a security guard. If you have time to laze around during the day, why not get a part-time job at the supermarket? I couldn't help but comment. You used to laze around at home watching Korean dramas. Why should I be the only one working? Karen snapped back. Thomas always seemed thin, but since they started living together, he seemed even thinner. Was this Karen's strategy to show a weakening Thomas and gain sympathy? Determined not to fall for such tactics, we decided to just watch from the sidelines. Then one day, Emma, playing alone in the living room, suddenly said, "Mom is waiting for Grandma and Grandpa to get wake." Confused, we asked, "What do you mean?" "Well, she wants them to go to a place called Heaven," Emma explained. Karen rushed out of the room, her eyes wide in shock, and quickly covered Emma's mouth, carrying her back into the room. From inside, voices could be heard with Karen telling Emma not to say unnecessary things and to watch a video and stay quiet. Emma seemed distracted by the promise of her favorite video. Karen emerged from the room acting as if nothing had happened. "Kids say the darndest things," she said. She probably picked up that line from TV or something. But would a child say something so specific without hearing it regularly? I don't think it's a word that comes out unless you hear it on a daily basis. I suspect Karen has been talking about our assets and how she can get her hands on them. Whether Thomas knows about it is unclear, but she seemed to discuss it openly in front of Emma. "Enough with the lame excuses. Explain yourself," I demanded. "Come on, Mom, don't look so scary. It's just something a kid said." "Don't take it seriously," Karen replied. "Well, just so you know, there is no inheritance waiting for you," I added. Karen's expression changed at those words, her eyes filled with resentment. Just then, Thomas came home. It was the weekend, and he wasn't supposed to be back because of his night shift. His unexpected return clearly startled Karen. Thomas confronted her, spilling the contents of a thick envelope. "What's the meaning of this?" he demanded. I picked up one of the scattered items from the floor. It was a photo of Karen looking intimate with another man. "So, while I'm working nights, you leave our child alone to go out?" Thomas exclaimed. He explained that when they left their previous apartment, he had said goodbye to the landlord. The landlord had mentioned how living with Karen's parents would be good for Emma, which puzzled him. He later found out that Emma had been left alone at very late hours. Initially, he thought it was a one-time thing, but after moving in with Karen's parents, he noticed she was off and out during the day. Suspecting something, he hired a private investigator, resulting in the photos. "You left Emma alone while I was out for my yoga classes. I attend yoga classes once a week for my health and often go out for lunch and shopping afterward, returning home in the late afternoon," Karen confessed. The thought of Emma being left alone without lunch was heart-wrenching. "Missing one meal isn't a big deal, so while she was alone, you were dining on fancy French cuisine in a hotel?" Thomas pressed her about the affair, and I confronted her about neglecting Emma for her lover. Then Thomas revealed a shocking truth. "She's after your assets, mother-in-law. She plans to dump Emma on you and go on lavish trips with her lover," he said. Karen retorted, "You traitor! Who do you think you married? Being with a boring, straight-laced guy like you? Life is so dull. I need excitement in my life." According to Thomas's confession, Karen had passionately pursued their marriage. Aware of his own plainness, he tried his best to meet Karen's expectations. Whenever they were short on money, he took on part-time jobs. When she said she wanted to look good, he increased his night shifts. As a result, he was always working, rarely spending time at home or with Emma. Once, after being away for about half a month, Emma asked, "Who are you, mister?" She didn't recognize her own father, seeing him merely as the man who brought money. Still, Thomas obeyed Karen out of gratitude for marrying a man like him. However, the money he worked hard for was spent on lavish outings with her lover. She indulged in fine dining while not even providing a proper meal for Emma. He couldn't bear to see his child suffer for Karen's selfishness. "I didn't care if I was abundant," he said. "I decided to reveal everything for the sake of my child. I won't be discarded. I'll expose everything for the sake of our child." "You are not the one being discarded," Karen retorted. "You are leaving a foolish wife." "Don't you dare call me a fool," Thomas snapped back. "I have never neglected to feed a child, no matter how much I despise them. Wake up, I won't pretend I never despised Karen for her rebellious ways. Honestly, I did, deeply. But I never denied her food. To think my own daughter would—" Thomas trailed off, unable to finish his sentence. "Maybe it's impossible to get Karen back on the right track. Every time I tried to help, she seemed to stray further." "Don't boss me around," Karen interjected. "Aren't people in their 60s practically half dead? This house and land will be mine eventually. You might as well give it to me now. You said you had no inheritance to give, but selling this house and land would make money, right?" Thomas pointed out. "Oh, it's hopeless," he sighed. I realized wishing for Karen's rehabilitation was in vain. Robert, of course, heard about this and kicked Karen out with nothing, essentially disowning her. After being thrown out, she screamed about how all the branded items were hers, and that Thomas, who had nothing going for him but being earnest, should be grateful. She even used him. Thankfully, a neighbor reported her, and she was taken away by the police. It turned out the branded items Karen claimed were all bought with money she made Thomas earn, which she used when meeting her lover. Thomas stood his ground, not giving in. He not only divorced Karen, but also secured compensation and child support in the divorce settlement. Karen named her lover as her guarantor, but he quickly rejected her. Apparently, he coldly told her never to show her face again. He enjoyed affairs with married women and lost interest once they were no longer married. Someone else pushed Karen further to the edge. It was someone from the gambling place she frequented while splurging with her lover. Upon learning of her divorce, they demanded immediate payment of her accumulated debts. Even Karen realized she couldn't escape from these intimidating figures. It seems she's now working tirelessly, just as she had made Thomas do. Her life has hit rock bottom after the divorce. Thomas was freed from his torment, and his health improved. He transformed into a diligent and clean-cut father, passionate about parenting. He focused on his main job, prioritized time with Emma, and became a well-regarded father in the neighborhood. His relationship with Emma is great, and she often says she loves her dad. We as grandparents do our best to take care of Emma, and our relationship is strong. Robert is utterly smitten with Emma. Without her mother around, we want to ensure she never feels lonely and shower her with love. After getting rid of the selfish Karen, Emma started laughing more. Every time I hear Emma's laughter, I feel reassured that cutting ties with Karen was the right choice. Now, Karen is rarely a topic of conversation between us all. I wish for as a parent is for her to repay those she wronged and live a modest life. But deep down, Karen is still our child. I hope, while I'm still here, to reunite with a reformed Karen. A part of me still